They told me I couldn't have my barbecue grill in my own backyard. Halls fined, angry letters, even threats of liens. But when my homeowners association tried to snuff out my weekend cookouts, I did something no one expected. I transformed my suburban patio into a fully licensed taco truck kitchen. Within days, neighbors lined up for street tacos, and the HOA's bluff was called, legally and deliciously. This is the story of how a simple flame war turned into a small business revolution. My name is Alex Ramirez. I moved into Maplewood Estates 2 years ago. A tidy development of 120 single-family homes arranged in neat rows, each with its own patch of lawn and identical mailbox. With brick facades and colonial shutters, it looked like a suburb straight out of a home goods catalog. When I first signed the purchase agreement, I barely skimmed the 50-page CC&Rs, covenants, conditions and restrictions. I trusted my real estate agent when she said, "It's just common sense stuff." Maplewood's HOA motto, emblazoned in every welcome packet, read, "Preserving property values through community standards." That meant everything had to match: mailbox colors, fence heights, even the type of mulch. At first, it seemed harmless. I was proud of my new home and happy to keep up my lawn. But when I rolled my grill into my backyard behind a waist-high wooden fence and lit it for my first weekend barbecue, I never anticipated the storm waiting in my mailbox. During the week, I work as a project manager for a tech startup. Weekends, I'm the unofficial neighborhood grillmaster. I've spent years perfecting my smoking technique. Dredging ribs in a secret spice rub, slow cooking them until they fall off the bone, and serving them with grilled corn slathered in cilantro lime butter. For me, outdoor cooking is more than food. It's a way to bring people together under open skies. Last July, I hosted my inaugural Maplewood block party. I invited the entire cul-de-sac, kids, parents, retirees. The aroma of mesquite smoke drew neighbors out of their homes. Kids chased each other across the lawn, teenagers played cornhole, and adults swapped stories over brisket sandwiches and cold beers. Laughter echoed between the houses. It felt like the perfect summer evening. But 6 days later, that idyllic memory turned sour when I found a crisp white envelope perched on my doormat. The HOA had made its first move. It was stamped by Maplewood Management Solutions, the HOA's third-party management company, and labeled Violation Notice Number 47. I opened it with growing disbelief. Resident: A. Ramirez, 27 Elm Court. Date: August 12, 2024. Violation: recreational equipment, propane grill, located in front yard or visible from street. Required action: move grill to rear of property or incur daily fines of $50 until compliance. I reread it twice. My grill sat squarely behind my fence, never visible from the street. I paced my patio, eyeballing the sightlines. Sure, a small tabletop grill on the front porch might be visible, but my 60-pound propane smoker was tucked at the far corner of the yard. I called Mr. Richard, the HOA manager. After 3 ringbacks, he answered. "Mr. Richard, my grill's in my backyard. Behind the fence," I said. "This has come up multiple times," he replied, voice clipped. Neighbors reported smoke drifting onto the sidewalk. The board decided grills visible from any vantage point violate Section 5.4(e) of the CC&Rs. Vantage point? That's absurd. I've checked every angle, no sightlines. I'm sorry, but the board's decision is final. Please remove it or be fined. He hung up. That afternoon, I scanned through the CC&Rs. Recreational appliances shall not be visible from any common area or street. The definition of visible was maddeningly vague. But nowhere did it specify front yard. The phrase was any common area or street. Behind my fence was technically private, but with a wide sidewalk just 6 feet away. They had wiggle room. I emailed my attorney friend Susan. Got HOA notice. They say grill in backyard is visible. CC&Rs vague. Thoughts? He called back in 10 minutes. They can't fine you without a hearing. Davis-Sterling Act requires a DR first. Pause fines, then negotiate. Document everything. That night, I slept on it, mentally drafting my next moves. I decided to push back. I fired up the grill anyway, smoking pork butt for pulled sandwiches, and invited a handful of neighbors over. We sat under string lights, plates piled high with meat, and the air smelled of hickory and spices. At 9 p.m., voices drifted down the street. A lone board member drove by, slowed, and I saw him glare. Next morning, I found 2 more notices on my door. Fines totaling $350. Threat of a lien if unpaid by August 31st. I'd never faced anything like this. My neighbors, especially those who'd enjoyed my barbecue, gave sympathetic looks as I walked them home from the party. Several whispered they'd sign a petition. Others shook their heads at the HOA's pettiness. At the monthly street cleanup, I cornered Mark Chen, our HOA president. "Mark," I tried complying. "My grill isn't visible. The covenant protects property rights. Why won't the board back down?" Mark shifted. "Alex, we're upholding community harmony. Smoke complaints and safety concerns. No one called the fire department. Everyone loved the ribs. You're enforcing a rule nobody read or understands." He bowed his head. "Board decision stands." He walked away, leaving me furious. I needed leverage. I spent nights buried in state codes. Under California's Davis-Sterling Common Interest Development Act, HOAs must follow their own governing documents and the statutory ADR process before levying fines or liens. The Act also says covenants are unenforceable if they conflict with law. And critically, I could recover attorney fees if I proved they acted in bad faith. Meanwhile, I brainstormed. If I couldn't grill normally, what if I converted my setup into a private catering operation, officially sanctioned? I discovered a path. The city's zoning code allows private outdoor catering via a conditional use permit, CUP. The CUP restricts events to members only or invited guests, with a cap on attendance and hours. It wasn't public restaurant service, so it wouldn't violate residential zoning. I mapped out a plan. File ADR demand to pause fines. Apply for CUP for a private outdoor catering operation. Convert grill area into a covered food trailer-like kitchen with permits. Launch a membership club, Friends of the Flame, to host private taco truck nights. This way, I'd turn a backyard nuisance into a membership-only benefit. The HOA would struggle to argue against something officially permitted by city regulators. On October 1st, I mailed a demand for alternative dispute resolution to Maplewood HOA GMT, citing the Act's requirement for mediation before fines. They had 30 days to respond. 2 weeks later, fines were paused. Mediation was set for October 20th at the community center. I arrived with a binder. Copy of CC&Rs, state code excerpts, photos proving no sightlines, and a summary of my CUP intent. The board members, 6 in total, sat across a long table, flanked by their attorney. The mediator, a retired judge, listened as I calmly presented my evidence. After 2 hours, the mediator ruled in my favor. The board had overstepped by imposing fines before ADR, and the covenant's language didn't clearly prohibit my grill. They agreed to rescind all fines and cancel the lien threat, on the condition I notify them of any changes. I left with a grin, realizing that was just the beginning. I found a 12-foot catering trailer from a restaurant liquidator in Fresno. At home, I gutted the interior, installing a commercial flat-top griddle, propane tanks, stainless prep surfaces, and a hand wash sink, exactly per the County Environmental Health Department's mobile food facility guidelines. Next, I applied for a mobile food facility permit and scheduled an inspection. The health inspector arrived on a cold November morning. She tested the water line, a hose spigot behind my garage, checked waste disposal via a porta-john service, and measured ventilation. When she stamped my permit, she smiled. "Looks good, Alex." Concurrently, I submitted a CUP application to the city's planning department. It required a site plan showing trailer placement on the driveway, a membership roster cap, hours limited to 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. weekends, and letters of support from 20 neighbors. I collected signatures, emphasizing this was a private amenity, not a public restaurant. The planner forwarded my application to adjacent property owners, none objected. On December 15th, the CUP was approved. I branded the trailer, bright red paint, a smiling taco mascot, and the sign, "Alex's Backyard Taco Truck, by invitation only." I launched Friends of the Flame, memberships at $100 per household per year, entitling members to 12 taco nights and discounted catering for private events. On January 5th, I parked the trailer on my driveway and decked the yard with string lights, colorful banners, and picnic tables. A Bluetooth speaker played Latin jazz. At 6 p.m., the first members arrived, handing me their cards. They saluted my triumph with hugs and high fives. Neighbors lined up, plates in hand. Carne asada tacos, fish tacos, and veggie fajita tacos. Kids chased bubbles blown by my niece, adults mingled, swapping stories of the HOA battle. Mr. Richard, the HOA manager, peeked through his binoculars at the far corner of the yard. He texted Mark Chen, "We need to talk." Later that week, 75 memberships sold out. Requests poured in. My small backyard operation had become the hottest ticket in Maplewood. Mark texted, "We need to discuss your taco trailer." This wasn't part of mediation. I replied, "Operation is under cup and health permit. Copies delivered to HOA on approval." He demanded a meeting. On February 5th, at the community center, I faced the board again. Mark opened. "Alex, you're running a commercial restaurant in a residential area, right here behind private homes." I calmly slid copies of the cup and health permit across the table. "This is a private catering cup, by appointment only, limited to members. I comply fully with city and county regs." Their attorney sniffed. "But the spirit of the covenant cannot override a valid cup issued by the city." I responded, "State law preempts restrictive covenants when a local government permits a use." Mark sputtered, "We'll have to refer this to the full board." They huddled. 10 minutes later, they agreed to void any conflicting covenant enforcement, effectively accepting my trailer as a permitted use. The board agreed, conceding they lacked legal grounds to object. With the HOA's retreat, my taco nights became a fixture. Every Friday, lights strung between houses, neighbors gathered. My niece sold homemade churros, a friend volunteered margaritas at a donation bar benefiting local charities. I introduced rotating guest chefs, a retired Japanese mom serving yakitori, a Cuban baker offering pastelitos, under International Street Eats nights. Neighbors who once cursed the smoke now lined up for flavors: Kobe beef sliders, vegan jackfruit tacos, and buffalo cauliflower bites. The trailer became mobile on weekends. I catered local birthdays, church fundraisers, even a block party 2 streets over. In summer, I organized a cultural food festival on my front lawn, 5 food trailers, 3 live musicians, and a local artist showcase. Maplewood's board even asked me to host a welcome night for new residents. Instead of stifling individuality, the HOA embraced my model as a community-building success story. What began as a simple grill dispute evolved into a thriving backyard catering enterprise, and a lesson in civic empowerment. Know your rights and documents. Study covenants, statutes, and processes before disputes escalate. Leverage dispute resolution requirements to pause enforcement and buy time for solutions. Seek permits and embrace regulations, turn obstacles into official approvals. Engage your community early to build allies and collective goodwill. Transform conflict into opportunity. A fight over a propane grill led to small business success and deeper neighborhood bonds. Today, Maplewood Estates hums not with silence but with the sizzle of grills and the laughter of neighbors breaking bread together. And me? I'm already plotting the next twist. A hoedown barbecue and taco mashup, complete with line dancing and live country music, all under the HOA's seal of approval. So if your HOA tries to quash your passions, remember, sometimes you need to stoke a different flame, one that lights up the entire block.